This is presented numbered purely for reasons of clarity. 1. An interdimensional portal opened between Earth and the dimensions in March 2006. This allowed access to heaven/dimensions by a human while being fully aware, and vice versa allowed beings in heaven/dimension full access to Earth. This opened a journey that was not expected or could be imagined. This portal was placed as the grace of God. 2. The event became possible when it was realized that the demons and the earthbound spirits were receiving no help from heaven and was left to their own demise. 3. Through the portal, firstly, the question of knowledge was assessed. It was realized that we all know what is best for all, but is doing nothing about it both in heaven and on earth. A statement was agreed upon as motivation of both heaven and earth, namely, knowledge without application is useless. 4. With this realization, through a process of forgiveness and understanding, all demons and earthbound spirits were assisted and brought back to heaven as it was at that stage. This process did not include the earthbound system demons created through habit and mechanical applications. 5. Existence as the human being understood it as a spirit and soul was directed by something in heaven called the Great White Light. The Great White Light used the soul construct and reincarnation to direct consciousness. Forgetfulness was used to make sure that no one, even in heaven, remember the truth about anything but what the white light prescribed. So in essence, the white light was what we would understand as God. Once it was realized that the white light is not supporting life, but controlling it for power, the great white light was removed. This caused the soul construct to be removed as well, as it was compounding suffering through forgetfulness. 6. While this was happening, beings in heaven acting as guides was recalled and required to understand forgiveness and responsibility very clearly before they would be allowed to assist humans on earth. In this process, all the multiple heavens and dimensions with their masters and gods and goddesses were brought into oneness and equality, and all the many mansions/heavens were removed. This was necessary to bring forth equality between all life in existence and to understand what the image and likeness of God in self-acceptance and self-expression truly are. This process took nearly a year in earth time, but in heaven time and space do not exist, and 1,000 years is one day. Thus, intensively all creation from the beginning of time could be studied, understood, evaluated to understand what we have allowed in our ignorance. 7. Obviously, with the source of the God construct, the Great White Light, and all the supporting constructs like the Great White Brotherhood, the angels, the invisible college, the soul construct, the ascended masters, the secret knowledge either removed or revealed, it was realized by all in heaven that God only existed as self. They realized that God in the act of creation of the true image and likeness of God as man could only bring forth equality by also being man. This opened up the necessity of, till here and no further, to stand as one as all and take responsibility for creation. 8. In this process also beings like Jesus, Osho, Buddha, Mohammed, all that had a legacy on earth realized that the soul construct and the Great White Light was a cleverly designed mind construct that enslaved both heaven and earth with religion and separation. Separation was the primary source of the problem. This separation was most visible through the belief that a God exists that is greater than man and caused man to not take responsibility, or man and humans waiting to be saved by some apparent greater being. It is necessary to understand that beings in heaven are man, and beings on earth are human. There is a difference in their origin for purpose of understanding this statement. 9. The level of deception in the universe was beyond description and truly supported the principle as above so below. As earth exists in war and deception, so did all the heavens. This is now stopped in heaven. Heaven is one, and all in heaven has stood up as equality. 10. Initially, when a human dies, he would go to a dimension appropriate to his earthly existence and then is placed according to obedience to the Great White Light. Those not obedient would have their memory erased and used as angels or workers for the so-called divine light, which was the Great White Light. Now, when a human die, she is immediately fully aware as man as God and then enter a process to understand what this really means. No access is allowed from heaven to earth initially until full responsibility is taken as self as all, as the universe as all, existence as equality. 11. The major problem that faced both heaven and earth was allowances through the mind. The mind is a system of consciousness that is not aware and is attempting to understand itself. As all existence enslaved itself to this system, the mind created consciousness and all of life as systems. These systems are not life and thus proceeded to enslave man as its life source. This was done with the great white light and the idea of God as starting point. Within this both heaven and earth was enslaved through the placement of knowledge and information that seemed stable and the ruthless dealing with any being attempting to break the slavery. This has been going on virtually since the beginning of creation as man in his attempt to understand self, separated self from self with using systems to understand self. The systems eventually became the universal mind, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind amongst others. Because man could not remember man's origin, man accepted existence as it is now on earth and as it was in heaven. 12. The creation of the human race was the work of a group of beings called the Anunnaki, or as the Bible referred to them as the sons of God. When the sons of God had intercourse with the daughter of earth, the human race with the current DNA structure we understand, came about. The human was created as a slave race for the sons of God/man that was in heaven/dimensions. All what we understand as our life today, from the food, grains etc. and our systems of society and civilization, our religions, cultures were introduced by the Anunnaki. What the Anunnaki did not realize was that the law of equality will always prevail and they were trapped in their own creation and lost their creative abilities to a great degree. The Anunnaki was lost in greed and greed and power always lead to forgetfulness and always trap the participating creator. They are no longer an influence in creation. In animating and placing a life source in the human body which was a machine-like system, the Atlanteans, the purest form of man was invited to integrate and animate the human. Unbeknown to the Atlanteans, the Anunnaki deceived them into being trapped in the human form and the Anunnaki erased all the memory of the Atlanteans and where they really came from. Thus the Atlanteans was trapped in a mind construct for a long time as the human race. 13. There were though beings/men and women in the universe that became aware of the situation and took the responsibility to correct the atrocities that occurred in the universe. A process was placed in motion and now we have these beings both in heaven and on earth standing up and bringing forth equality. You may be one of them waiting to be activated or you may be one that has realized something in the universe is out of place. Now is the time to understand and stand up. We are man as God and God as man. We are eternal. We are equal. We are responsible. We are here. The here-now moment is the key that present to us all what is acceptable in existence and what is not. When we all strive to bring forth the purest in every moment and hold the vision of self as equal to all, acting with resolve, direction will step forth from heaven and from within self. 14. Take note of the following. A. The foundation of each being on earth has been corrected. B. The higher self has become aware of equality and is assisting and planning each human life to reach understanding of equality. C. Heaven is no longer and is now fully integrated on earth as equal to the human to assist in self-realization. D. The roots of all evil in heaven has been removed and is now being removed on earth. Remember that the human is subject to death and heaven is now holding the strings to make sure that no one will interfere. E. No access can be gained to heaven by channel or psychics or intuitive unless equality is understood and assisted. 15. On the topic of channels and psychics. They are the beings trapped by the white light as the channels of enslavement and face the most difficult time in the changes coming. As heaven started closing channels, the mind and systems stepped in to recreate the same stories of higher and lower and heaven and hell, ascension etc. This is now stopped. Look, the Masters was not bringing forth equality, but enslaved humans into belief systems that there is something wrong or something like a golden consciousness, a path of expanding consciousness which is systems. You are the image of God, equal. The likeness is your expression of understanding this. Heaven will now assist in this process of self-expression. Psychics and channels could ever only present what the white light and systems of control allowed. Thus all the stories were going really nowhere and kept everyone in a cycle of hope. Hope is separation from self. 16. Forgiveness is the key to self. Forgiveness must be spoken aloud to hear what we have allowed in our world and the corrective action that would be necessary to stop the actions bringing enslavement. Forgiveness is the self-realization button. 17. The way we have accepted money and religion and sex is the primary enslavement models and must now be revisited to bring equality for all life. 18. All animals, bacteria, plants, in fact all of nature is now equally aware and assisting the human in the process of equality. 19. Consciousness is a system and is not awareness. To grow in consciousness is to grow in enslavement. Awareness only exists in the here-now moment. Consciousness exists in the past and the future in fear of the past and the future. Awareness is beyond thinking. Consciousness is thinking. 20. Nothing is what it seems, and a veil was placed over the eye of the human. Much will now be revealed. This is the time of revelation, and the golden age will step forth. Alas, not as expected. Yet it is here and inevitable. The human will either realize it in this life or in heaven after death. All is seen. All is known. Nothing is hidden. Life does not exist as consciousness, but only as awareness. Consciousness will react to some of the statements made. Awareness will marvel in joy and love as life is born as equality. In equality we see all life as ourselves and see what is necessary for all as self to become aware as life as equality. It is done.